but it's also a market research tool in many ways to figure out exactly what the market wants from the chatbot. And I think that focusing on the customer rather than your data that might help the customer is an innovative and cool approach. And I think this can really be a nice thing. Hi, I'm Tom, and with me today is my partner Agam. We take one idea every week and break it apart to show you how you too can take it and make it happen. Agam, you have a great idea for us today. Let's run through it. This, as a reminder to our viewers, watchers, listeners, I don't know, anybody who engages with the cast, is that we have shift the main focus from doing a full product, go-to-market, and technical review of the idea, focusing more on the idea itself and how you can, further refine it. Agam, take it away.
Okay, so this idea is something I was actually looking into building myself. And I'll explain all the reasoning and why I'm not currently doing it, but I still think it's a very interesting, viable product. So while I was in South Korea a few months back, I was looking into building a new bootstrap service and like SaaS. And I was looking at it from the perspective of how can I help people in my circle, right? I know a lot of founders of startups. Maybe I can make a product and sell it to them because that's the easiest path to do it. And I was like, maybe I can do something that leverages this new wave of LLMs, of AI and chat interfaces, conversational UIs, as people call them. And I was looking into something that I think is underutilized, and that's the FAQ, frequently asked questions. Now, I want to say one big thing about it. There's the support FAQ, there's the product FAQ. Those are totally different, two different things. So you have, one of them is more about helping a potential buyer that comes into your website make a decision of buying. So for example, will be questions about the pricing, about some features, if they have it or not for a specific plan, or how are you compliant, stuff like that before you buy into the product. And then there's the support FAQ, which I think is super saturated and everyone's there. And I'm not going to get into that. More of like the Zendesk of the world and Intercoms.
So maybe, if you don't mind, maybe I'll chime in and just give a little bit of like two main pointers. There's actually on the bottom of every single homepage you've ever seen of a major SaaS company, there are frequently asked questions at the bottom. Those are a lot of the times not related to how can I change my billing and stuff like that, and more about what does the product do in comparison to product Y, or how is that actually even possible, or some sort of marketing gimmick there. And a lot of this kind of homepage questions type situations also pop up on Google when you search for the product or for the category or stuff like that, which is also a main SEO play. So again, we're not talking about help center FAQs, but more on homepage, pricing page, product page FAQs. That's what you're talking
about. Yeah. Now, the reason I was looking into that section is it didn't change in the last 20, 30 years, I think. Like it stayed the same since the dot-com bubble, basically.
We moved from a list to an accordion. We now have a...
Yeah, wow. Crazy. And the thing is, I think that area has a lot of intent. If you're looking at that area, opening that accordion, or actually reading and looking at the answers and the questions there, you're probably high intent potential customer, right? You're looking into the product pretty seriously. It's like going to the pricing page. And I was saying there's not a lot of amazing call to actions there. So my idea is basically this. This is the ICP, the ideal customer profile for this idea, and I'll tell the idea while I'm at it. Companies that sell a SaaS product to other businesses, probably between $100 and let's say $500 a month. That's kind of the range. They don't have the unit economics to have an SDR, someone like an actual human being, to answer the call and talk to the customer. So their only way of selling in that price range is to have a very good landing page, have all the FAQ really well organized, and just hope for God that people buy. Because someone buying for $299 a month, you can't have a guy sitting on the phone with them. So my idea is basically create an AI SDR that sits on that FAQ. And this is very interesting because now with LLMs, you can actually do a lot of what I'm talking about. So the idea is in the FAQ page, have some kind of intent, some kind of button, some kind of call to action that when somebody clicks on it, it opens up a conversation. And you're having a conversation with this AI SDR, sales representative, and you're going to ask your questions. And the cool thing about an FAQ is that you can ask personalized questions, right? Maybe the FAQ doesn't have all the questions that you need for your company. So maybe you're like, okay, I'm a company that's based in the UK. Do you serve customers in the UK? Oh, interesting. You figure out that this potential customer that's asking you questions on the FAQ is from the UK. That tells you.
So maybe if you don't mind, I'll stop you and I'll ask a few kind of follow-up questions. So first and foremost, note that SDRs, a lot of the times, not all of them, but do outbound calls, not inbound calls. They would.
I think more that's a VDR, but maybe we're getting the.
I think SDRs and VDRs are heavily mixed together in various companies. Business development as a whole is a very, how do you say, like not a very well-defined niche. Like there's too many types of different roles in it. A lot of it is like prestige stuff. Let's not go into it too much. It doesn't really matter. But the bottom line is, if you talk to an SDR, a lot of the time they're trying to sell you on something, but they're kind of like their specific queries, what they'll ask you in order to understand who you are based on some sort of qualification question. Like, how do I qualify this lead to make sure they're actually like a good potential buyer for the product? And less so a discussion from the person on the other end to the SDR. Essentially, it's not like they will be bombarding them with questions that they have to answer. They have a very minimal set of questions that they are expected to answer, and everything else should happen in a meeting, right? And what you're suggesting is kind of switching up the process a little bit. You're saying, let's make the people on the front line of the selling effort as powerful as possible with an AI agent or AI tool of sorts that enables them, the customer, to ask very highly granular questions that are specific to that and get answers even before they reach the meeting, which is shortening the sales cycle.
You're actually creating, you're helping the sales effort by getting some qualifications by that conversation you had with the potential customer. The AI, you can have the AI be subtle about the questions. So if the customer has their own questions in mind, they're getting value, right? Because you're giving them the FAQ personalized for them. But in the process of them asking the questions, you're actually learning some very valuable sales information that you can later use if you want to, convert that customer. So the idea is you want to be in high intent areas like the FAQ, add that conversational UI there, and start doing a qualification and enrichment sales process with that AI. So that's the basic idea. I can show you more specifically how I'm looking at it, but do you have any other questions before we go there?
No, I feel as if I kind of get the idea. The main thought that I have is I like the fact that it shortens the sales cycle. It allows the customer to ask very granular questions without having to talk to anybody, which is not usually the thing. It's not usually interactive. When you go to a product, you want to like play around with it. Either you have like a trial, which you can then figure out for yourself if matches you need, or a playground, or you have to go on a call. There's no like other option there. It's kind of like a black hole of sorts, right? I just want to get answers to my questions that are very granular. Like, does this work with this version of SAP? And can you connect to like all that very niche questions, right? And usually you have to go on a call with that because the website is not, it can't be granular enough for it.
And what you're saying is another interesting point. You can learn new FAQ questions you can add later on, right?
For sure.
A customer comes up, a customer comes with a new question you never thought about because they would never otherwise have asked it, right? The FAQ is static in most pages. That's why I said it didn't change in 20 years. You're just producing something for people to read. But in this way, it's a two-way communication. Now you can start learning what's interesting to your client or potential buyers. So I want to show you a few competitors, and you might use them actually for an MVP for this. But the first one I want to show you, and this might give you ideas for more things, is this product called Chatbase. Chatbase is a really cool tool. It's kind of like the idea is not very crazy. I think it's pretty trivial with LLMs today. Basically, they let you create this chat interface with your data. So you can give them either your website or documents or text, and it will create this assistant chat user interface you can embed into your website. Now, what I would do is I would create a button that just opens this up with the data of the FAQ, the product FAQ you want to put in that FAQ page. So you can use this. It's pretty nice. If the pricing is too much for you, you can build it in-house. But I think that if you're not a developer, starting using vector databases and all this LLM backend might be too much. So you might just want to buy, one of their unlimited pricing plans and use that. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the big competitor, Intercom. Now, Intercom is interesting. I think that the differentiator that you can have with this product relative to Intercom is kind of subtle, but it's interesting. Intercom is very, they educated the market about the support FAQ. They do have a bit of chat widgets in the main website, but they're not really built for conversations. They're built to convert customers to schedule a call, right? The moment you open it up, it asks you some qualification question. And straight after that, they're like, please give me your email or your phone number. It's not a continuous conversation with the customer. And that means that for this specific ICP, and again, this is why I want to come back to the ICP, you want to hit ICPs that don't have the unit economics to have a schedule a call opportunity with them because it's too expensive for their unit economics. So they'll want to use you because you have an AI tool that qualifies the buyer automatically.
So I think that what you're referring to is essentially, so a couple of thoughts on this entire thing. So first and foremost, I want to mention that there's a tool called Forethought, Forethought, which I will show right now, which is used by a company called Upwork, very popular online talent marketplace. And their customer support chatbot essentially allows you to ask open-ended questions. It learns on your data, and then you can essentially, it also creates these buttons like you have in Intercom where you can click and then it will move you to the next step. Now, it's kind of like what you're saying with where Intercom, I think, is going. Intercom also now has a product called FIN, F-I-N, which is their own generative AI thing. Everybody has a generative AI thing. You can't really not have one now. And where I think this market's going is exactly what you said. It's not about creating the best chatbot based on your data. It's about creating the best user experience to answer very granular questions more than just answer as much questions as possible. Essentially, the problem with the Forethoughts of the world, and probably also with Intercoms, is they're focusing on training on your data, right, to answer any questions that relate to your data. What you're trying to say is focus on the user on the other end and see if you can adapt to their questions as best as possible. And that might not include giving them a concrete answer, but maybe taking everything they said and then putting it into the qualification form on the other end for the salesperson to make sure they hop on a call, to convert them to a call. But it's also a market research tool in many ways to figure out exactly what the market wants from the chatbot. And I think that focusing on the customer rather than your data that might help the customer is an innovative and cool approach. And I think this can really be a nice business.
And I think another subtle part of it is you want to be integrated in the FAQ section. You don't want to just hover around on the website. You want to be a button that's in the FAQ section, and it has some call to action of your question is not here, or have a custom question, something like that, that also intrigues, some novelty into that process of the FAQ. So that's the basic idea. I don't want to talk too much about the product because I think that's the shift we're kind of going with up for grabs, where you kind of figure that out. It needs to be your baby. But to build something like this, again, I would say if you're not a developer, try to find something like chat-based. There's going to pop a lot of these types of options now. But otherwise, yeah, you can try to build it, but I think it also might be a waste of time. Try to close your customers before. So to reach the customers, let's talk a bit about that. What I tried to do was first contact my network. But if you don't have a network of these types of people, what I would do is I would just use LinkedIn, right? You can check their websites. And what I did was I opened Figma, and there's this plugin for Figma that is HTML to Figma. Let me share my screen and show it to you. This is actually a neat trick for selling. You can use it for other ideas too. But basically, there's this plugin that you can, not Figma for HTML, sorry. It's HTML to Figma. HTML to design, and this one. So you can give them a URL and it will put all of the website design into Figma. So you can change everything, change the wording, the spacings, move divs around pretty easily. And what I did is I added this button to their FAQ and showed them how it would look like. And what I would do is I would record a loom of me showing how it looks like with the prototype tools of Figma. So it actually looks real and tangible. And I would ask them something like, would you pay $39 a month for this? And see if they're kind of interested. For a company that's B2B, that's not a lot of money. What I would do over time is charge usage-based. That's where my kind of idea kind of fell down, because I asked for that $39 a month, and a lot of them were like, we want usage-based. And the deal kind of started to crumble that way because I didn't want to start with usage-based. It's a lot more work development-wise from my side. So I was like, let's just open it up for grabs for someone else to do it. But I know there is some intrigue in this type of idea. Again, you need to polish the product and figure out exactly what your customers would like, and you need to show value in that. That's the main way I would reach the first customers. And after that, you can show like actual data-driven results in LinkedIn. So say like this customer had this before, now he has like 30-40% more engagement in the FAQ, or I can show that they converted more clients or got new FAQ questions they never knew about. And that's cool to kind of do marketing via LinkedIn, in my opinion, for B2B customers. Do you have any other ideas in that sense?
I think that the chat interface as a website first like experience was mainly focused on like the intercoms of the world. So you have a bubble on the right-hand side and there's a chat there and you communicate there. What you're suggesting, generally speaking, or from a product perspective, not necessarily from a customer base perspective, is a differentiation, like a new way to approach customers from a sales perspective. And I think that maybe I wouldn't want